Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about an invention, a single piece of tech, that didn't just change the world, it blew it apart, marking the explosive end of one era and the beginning of a whole new one.
So how could one invention do all that? Well, to really get it, you've got to understand the world before it showed up. Picture it. A world built of stone, a world of knights and castles, and a totally different way of fighting wars.
For a long time, if you wanted power, you built high stone walls. And for just as long, there was one machine that was the absolute king of knocking them down. A machine that worked using nothing but the power of gravity. The trebuchet.
I mean, look at this thing. This was it, the absolute pinnacle of siege warfare for centuries. It's really just a beautiful, if terrifying, use of basic physics. It could throw giant rocks and just obliterate the kinds of defenses people were building back then.
And it was a marvel, for sure. We're talking about machines that could hurl a 135-kilo stone. That's like 300 pounds, almost 3 football fields. And the best part? It's mostly wood. You could literally build one on site right in front of the castle you were about to attack. It was the symbol of military power. But, and this is a big but, it wasn't perfect. It had some serious flaws.
And then everything changed. A new sound started to boom across the battlefields of Europe. It wasn't the creak of wood or the snap of rope. It was a roar, the sound of gunpowder. The cannon was here.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just a slightly better trebuchet. No way. This was a complete paradigm shift. We're moving from the power of gravity, something you can see and understand, to the power of chemistry, an invisible, violent, chemical explosion. It changed everything.
So how much of a game changer was it, really? Let's do a little tech showdown, stone versus iron ball, and see how these two stack up. Okay, so when you look at them side by side, you see some interesting trade-offs, right? Sure, the trebuchet was way cheaper and easier to make from wood, but the cannon, well, the cannon had the upper hand in the two things that really matter in a fight: how far you can shoot and whether you can actually hit what you're aiming at. Let's dig into that.
Let's talk about range first. This wasn't just a minor upgrade. It was a complete game changer. It literally changed the shape of the battlefield.
Get this, 715 meters. That's the range of cannons they were casting back in 1378. That is nearly triple the range of the biggest trebuchet. Just think about what that means. You can sit back, way out of harm's way, and just pound a castle into dust. The defenders can't do a thing. It turns a siege into target practice.
And it wasn't just about range. It was about accuracy and efficiency, too. A huge trebuchet might need a crew of 250 people, and you'd be lucky to get one shot off every 10 minutes, a shot that can land pretty much anywhere. Cannons, on the other hand, far more accurate. You could actually aim for a weak spot in the wall. And you could do it with a much smaller, more skilled crew. But all this new power wasn't cheap.
Making these things was incredibly expensive. We're talking cutting-edge metallurgy for the time. A bronze cannon, for example, could cost 5 times more than an iron one. This meant that only the richest kings and rulers could afford to field an army with effective artillery. And that fact alone, well, that's going to become a huge part of our story. So, you've got this expensive, long-range, accurate new weapon. Let's look at how that completely rewrote the rules of war. And there's one single event that shows this perfectly. 1453. Constantinople. For 1,000 years, this city's walls were the stuff of legend, literally thought to be unbreakable. They'd seen off siege after siege. They were the symbol of an empire that had lasted for a millennium. And then, the Ottoman army showed up with their cannons. For 47 days, day and night, they just relentlessly pounded the city's defenses. We're talking about massive super cannons firing cannonballs that weighed over half a ton. It was a brutal, non-stop assault, the likes of which nobody had ever witnessed before.
The final count? Something like 5,000 shots hit those walls. 5,000. Just try to imagine the sheer force of that. Stone that had stood strong for 1,000 years just started to crack and crumble. It was a level of destructive power that was simply unthinkable before this moment.
And the result? The walls fell. The city fell. The empire fell. This sent a shockwave across the entire known world. The message was loud and clear. Your stone walls can't save you anymore. No castle, no matter how strong, was safe. The age of the fortress was officially over.
So what happens next?
The whole rulebook for war gets torn up. Suddenly, having a strong defense wasn't the key to winning anymore. The advantage swung completely over to the offense. And it wasn't about knights in shining armor anymore either. It was about disciplined infantry, working together with powerful artillery.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, the cannon's impact didn't stop at the battlefield. By making castle walls obsolete, it started a chain reaction that would topple the entire social structure of the Middle Ages.
It was like a set of dominoes. See, a local lord's power came from his castle. It was his base, his defense. He could hole up in there and defy anyone, even the king. But then the cannon comes along and turns that stone fortress into a pile of rubble. Suddenly, that lord is powerless. The only people who can afford the cannons, the only people who can project real force, are the kings. Power starts to centralize, big time.
And this quote just nails it. A king didn't need his nobles to show up with a horse and a suit of armor anymore. That was useless now. What he needed was cash. Cold, hard cash to pay for cannons and to pay for professional soldiers who knew how to use them. And to get that cash, you need taxes. And to collect taxes, you need a government, a bureaucracy. You can see the modern state starting to form right here.
So in the end, the modern world wasn't really forged by the sword. It was forged by the cannon. This one piece of technology tore down the old feudal system, gave rise to powerful kings, and built the foundation for the kind of nation-states we have today.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? It's a powerful lesson in how a single technological breakthrough can completely redefine power, redraw the map, and build a new future. So the question for us is, what's the canon of our time? What's the technology that's changing everything right now? That's the big takeaway. Thanks so much for watching.